Hello there guys, Tolo here and welcome to patch 5.2. Oh yes indeed, a lot of changes has happened to all classes and yeah, I'm gonna sit here and talk a little bit about patch 5.2 for warriors and what's my opinion on it. First of all, I have a list here with all the changes. You guys have probably already seen a lot of other people talking about it. You probably read them yourself in the blue post on MMO Champion or wherever you get your patch notes from. Um, yeah, but there's been a lot of changes and some nerfs and yeah, overall changes to the warrior class. We've actually been hit pretty hard this time. So, first of all, Bladestorm. This is what I love. A while back, they made it so now you can now disarm Bladestorm. That was like back in Cataclysm, I remember that. Back then, Bladestorm was like extremely effective. That is before Shockwave even became a thing and Dragon's Roll even became a talent. I mean, I don't even think we could use Shockwave back then because of the stance and yeah, that was like was different time back then. But I just remember there was like this huge scream. I personally hated it too when suddenly my Bladestorm could get disarmed. Well, the thing is, you can no longer get disarmed when you are using Bladestorm, which probably makes a lot more warriors use Bladestorm nowadays, which is gonna be great. I mean, I love Bladestorm, and you guys know that. So maybe I'm gonna choose Bladestorm more often. But I guess the main thing I've been using for Battlegrounds has always been Dragon's Roll since Mist of Pandaria came out. And I like that for Battlegrounds. I know a lot of warriors like Shockwave for arenas, but that is gonna change with this patch, I'm sure of. But I'll get to that later, guys. So another thing is defensive stance. A lot of warriors in patch 5.1 like to be in defensive stance. Well, they definitely nerfed that, mainly for well, they did some changes, so defensive stance is not as good as it used to be, which means arms warriors, fury warriors don't want to go into it that often anymore. I mean, you can still go in there if you're gonna get focused big time. You still want to pop your shield. Definitely, you still wanna go into defensive stance, pop your shield if you're getting focused big time. Yeah, but it's not as effective anymore. They did some changes to the protection, warrior protection spec that kind of makes up for the changes. But for an arms warrior, it's hit them pretty good. Okay, so execute now deals about 15% less damage. Well, I guess yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Doesn't hit as much. Reduce a little bit of the burst in the end. But that is gonna affect some warriors, I'm sure. Here's another thing: Shockwave. Shockwave. This is like a huge nerf, and I'm glad they're actually doing that because a lot of warriors liked to use Shockwave in arenas for very good reasons. I mean, it had a great damage. It got good crowd control, very good stun, and a lot of warriors was choosing this Shockwave over everything else when it comes to arena for a good reason. It's also very good for Battlegrounds, certainly. Personally, I've been switching between Shockwave and Dragon's Roll for Battlegrounds, depending on what I wanted. If I wanted to have fun, I was choosing Dragon's Roll. If I wanted to have a little bit more CC, I would take Shockwave. And Shockwave would still do like almost the same damage as Dragon's Roll sometimes. But now Shockwave has been nerfed. That means before it was like 20 seconds cooldown. Now it got 40-second cooldown, except if you're striking 3 or more targets, then it will reduce the cooldown by 20 seconds. So that basically means for arms warriors in arenas, unless you hit like all 3 targets in like 3 versus 3, it's not gonna be that effective. but it's still gonna be effective if you're gonna be tanking in a raid instance and you have a lot of trash mob you're tanking. You're probably tanking like, let's say, 5 or 10 mobs or something like that, or you're doing a heroic instance. You probably want to use Shockwave quite a lot as a protection warrior. So really, the changes they made didn't really affect protection warriors. Okay, Warbringer now reduced the target movement by 50%. Warbringer talent up here. 8 seconds in PvP. In addition, its other effects, the 3-second stun knockdown is now the diminishing returns category for stuns. Same as Shockwave and Stormbolt, and not the proc stun diminishing returns category. So they're basically nerfing the stun a little bit on Warbringer. They definitely felt like warriors had a lot of stuns. They definitely felt that. It's like a lot of people have been complaining, a warrior charge you, they stun you, they kill you. That is what people have been complaining about, and I do agree, warriors have had a lot of crowd control, but that is what has been making them viable here in Mist of Pandaria. A lot of warriors are fearing that, well, we're going to get back to what happened at the end of Cataclysm. We don't want to be in that position again, but let's see what's gonna happen, guys. Shield Barrier, which is like a protection talent, scales better with AP. Stormbolt now deals 25% damage. Was 100%. That means Stormbolt not only does it give you stun, it also deals a lot more damage. I'm sure some warriors gonna be happy for that. I like Avatar, but I just like Avatar. Avatar's fun looking. And Rage Regeneration now costs 30 Rage and was 60 Rage. I'm happy. I'm really, 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 really happy that they did that. In Rage Regeneration, I mean, it costs so much Rage. Thank you, Blizzard. Although Second Wind is still nice and fun, even though they did some changes to Second Wind as well. Because it now, of course, I was skipping over this one. It now generates 50% rage, 15 rage rather than 20 over 10 seconds. They had a lot of changes. They were like going back and forth with the Second Wind talent in the PTR. They kept like going back and forth, and people were like talking about it all the time. There was so many changes, but yeah, I'm sure it's gonna balance out. I'm sure Second Wind is gonna balance out. With this patch, everybody's gonna get a lot of new gear, and I'm sure because of all the new gear, Second Wind is not gonna be as overpowered as it has been. But I'm not sure, and I guess only time will tell. Else, I guess Blizzard have to go around and nerf it again. Okay, so here's another thing. Deadly Calm has been nerfed. Thank you, Blizzard. I didn't want that ability anyways. Glyph of Insight is no longer activated from Deadly Calm. Well, obviously. And now activates the Moralizing Shout instead. Well, I don't use that glyph. The glyph is... Here it is. Use Demoralizing Shout makes your next free Heroic Strike or Glyph abilities free. I guess that could be useful as a sort of... Well, that could actually be pretty useful in all aspects. And Glyph of Overpower is now Glyph by Die by the Sword. It increased the duration of Die by the Sword whenever Overpower or Wild Strike are used. So that basically, Die by the Sword is this glyph here, and while it's active, using Overpower increases the duration by 1 second, and use Wild Strike. It's actually really good. Imagine if I have this Die by the Sword, and I'm gonna use Die by the Sword here, and I got my Overpower proc available. Then every single time I use my Overpower, it's gonna be my Die by the Sword effect is gonna be lasting longer and longer and longer. So I'm guessing if you have a really good streak, if you're being really lucky with the amount of overpower procs you're gonna get, you could actually stay alive for quite some time. Although that glyph and ability is a little bit RNG, I suppose. Oh well. Next thing is a glyph of the death from above. Basically, what I'm using here. No longer increase the damage of heroic leap, but it still reduced the cooldown on heroic leap. I like to use that for arena, or for just PvP in general. I like to use these two glyphs. They're very good gap closers. I mean, if you wanna hunt down a target, these two glyphs has always been very good. But maybe now with patch 5.2, I'm gonna look into some of the other glyph changes. But I still think these are I like these. They're very nice. Okay, so Impending Victory will now heal the warrior for 50% of maximum HP when they have not slain an enemy. It used to be 10%. So they're basically buffing Impending Victory. They want warriors to have a better reason to use Enraged Regeneration and Impending Victory. Right now, all warriors have been using Second Wind. But with these changes, I guess they're hoping that warriors are going to be switching over to these two other abilities. And I'm actually sure Impending Victory is going to be yeah, both. I can actually see both being used. For protection warriors, of course, if you're raiding, warriors who are raiding as a protection warrior, they probably choose Enraged Regeneration if they're gonna be tanking a boss. Second Wind is probably still the ability you want to choose if you're gonna be tanking a trash group, a huge pack of mobs. And it's still probably the talent you want to use if you're gonna do 5-man heroics. Anyways, that's not too important. For arms warriors, that is what we're getting to, right? A Taste of Blood has been redesigned, and now causes the warrior to gain 2 stacks of overpower, maximum of 5 when Mortal Strike deals damage. So basically, and 1 stack when the target dodges, and no longer attacks with Heroic Strike. It now requires level 20, used to be required by level 50. Wow, that's actually been a buff to Arms Warrior at low levels. Interesting. So Taste of Blood is gonna, they keep changing that ability around, but that's gonna be fun. Now Slam deals 220% damage. It used to be 190% damage, and now costs 20 rage. Was 30 rage. Okay, so they basically want us to use Slam a lot more often. Well, that's nice. More damage to Slam. They're gonna be evening our damage a little bit more out. Deep wounds and damage has been increased by 100%. Well, that's great. Wow. Okay. Deep wounds. So more bleed damage. Your Mortal Strike, Bloodthirst, and Devastate cause the target to bleed for 60,510 physical damage. I wonder, is this affecting protection warriors too? Because I know they nerfed that a little bit like a while back. Anyways, gonna be interesting. Deep wounds, good damage. Whirlwind now costs 20 rage, it was 30. They actually made a lot of these abilities cost less rage. Overpower now costs 10 rage and reduce the Mortal Strike remaining cooldown by 0.5 seconds. So that's great. And we got the sudden death now has 10%, was 20% chance to activate auto attacks or opportunity strikes. In addition, using execute makes overpower free for 10 seconds. Okay, so if you can execute a target, that's actually a little buff to Arms Warrior and PvE. PvP, I guess that can be useful, but if you're gonna execute a target, I guess you're gonna have a little bit more burst at the very end on people if you're gonna be able to execute a target, and then overpower is gonna be free. I guess that's like more of a buff to PvE Arms Warriors. Okay, so what else? For Furor Warriors, Blood Surge now reduced the range of Wild Strike by 30, was 20. Basically the same change they made to Slam. And its duration has been increased to 15 seconds, was 10 seconds. That's nice. And for Protection, the base damage of Shield Slam and Revenge has been increased by 150%. But these abilities now scale approximately 10% less efficiently with attack power. Okay, I guess that's just evening the ability out. Um, so it still does approximately the same damage, but it's not going to become extremely overpowered with the new gear that people are going to be getting in this patch. And yeah, basically they of course made the change to they of course made some changes to the spec. You know how I talked about defensive stance has been nerfed. They nerfed defensive stance because they didn't want arms warriors or fury warriors to be using defensive stance all the time. But obviously, if you're gonna be nerfing defensive stance, you're gonna be nerfing protection warriors as well. So what they did to make up for this is they made some changes to one of our passive abilities. Let's see if I can find it in here. Here it is. They basically improved it so they basically improved it so it makes up for the 10% reduction in defensive stance. So that's nice. And they're not like nerfing warriors completely just because another spec is using something that they're not 100% intended to use all the time. Anyways, guys, that was some of the patch 5.2 changes. I am sure I missed some of it, but hey, guys, that is my opinion on patch 5.2 changes for warriors, and I will probably bring you guys some PvP very, very soon, and hopefully there's gonna come an update for my add-on soon, and yeah, have fun, guys, and tell me. Do you like these changes for patch 5.2? Do you like them for the warrior changes? Do you like the changes that they made to your class? What is your opinion on this, guys? Let me know down in the comment section below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.